Hello, I'm Chef John Folse. Food is so much more than nutrition here in the South. Every weekend on Louisiana's back roads and bayous, our festivals celebrate the food, music, and cultures that make us unique. Why not join me as we visit the fairs and festivals of our state and cook up another great Taste of Louisiana?
Funding for this program is provided by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Vieux Carré, Zydeco, Atchafalaya, Natchitoches. In Louisiana, you'll say things you've never seen before.
Thank you. What better place to start the day in the heart of New Orleans than right here at the famous Café du Monde with Café au lait and beignets. The Quarter is a playground for the city, complete with food, music, crafts, and of course, people enjoying each other's company. This weekend, the Quarter will be especially red, ripe, and juicy as we celebrate the Creole tomato. Talking about food in New Orleans is like talking about romance in Paris. It's everywhere, and it's great. On this warm June day in the city, you need only visit the French Quarter to experience a festival unique to our state, the Creole Tomato Festival. This weekend, you'll discover 5 city blocks of music, crafts, and tastings of the finest food anywhere. And as is true with most days in the French Quarter, there'll be dancing in the street. Casa Samba definitely gets the crowd's attention, and everyone wants to become part of the action as they ramble through the Quarter. And here's what's creating all of the excitement this weekend, the meaty, juicy, and sweet Creole tomato. It's absolutely true. Families come from miles around, including other states, to enjoy the taste of this red, ripe Creole wonder. Needless to say, there's plenty of food around, and food of every type and variety available in the city this weekend. These ribs were some of my favorite. And of course, if you're looking for jazz, well, don't fret. You're certain to find the likes of the New Wave Jazz Band. And if your luck is running right, you'll be able to join in the second line all the way down to the fried green tomato stand. Yes, here in South Louisiana, even unripened fruit are considered a delicacy. The tomato is plucked from the vine before turning red and still firm to the touch. It is then cut into quarter-inch slices and dredged into a mixture of seasoned egg and milk batter, and then coated with a very nice spicy yellow corn flour for frying. The ladies of Volio's seafood restaurant then deep fry the tomatoes to a wonderful golden brown. And when cooked, they drain them well and serve them as finger food or even over a plate of steamed white rice. Fresh tomatoes are everywhere, and they're even turned into barbecue sauce for Sam Felton's fabulous grilled shish kebabs. You could smell these all over the city. Creole tomatoes can be seen in every place in the Quarter, especially here in the stalls of the famous French market. Farmers come here to this market from throughout the state, and each one prizes the quality of his produce and will even argue as to who has the best. Stand around for a minute and you'll hear them shout, "Get your tomatoes here." Well, there's no shortage of food at this festival. In fact, many of the restaurants sell everything from simple tomato salads to Bella Luna's famous tomato pizzas. Here's my great buddy, Austin Leslie. He's demonstrating his own version of fried green tomatoes. I know who I'll put my money on this weekend. He's got to have the best. Well, it's music, it's food, it's people, and let's not forget those Creole tomatoes. That's what this weekend in the city is all about. Wow, can you imagine a city devoting a whole weekend to tomatoes? Well, only in Louisiana, I say, but there's a reason for it. Tomatoes originated in Peru, down around Ecuador and in that area, and eventually came up through Mexico in the Mississippi Valley to present-day Louisiana. And with the Spanish, the French, the Italians, all of those wonderful cultures settling our city, my God, there had to be tomatoes in every dish. Remember also, it's an American crop, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit more. It didn't exist anywhere. It originated right here in North America. So we want to talk a little bit about what's in this big wooden bowl here. I want you to take a look at this bowl. It's got all the different varieties of tomatoes. This is the Creole tomato of Louisiana. This is the pineapple tomato. Here's some of the little cherries, the red as well as the golden. These are zebra striped tomatoes. Look at the stripes on these things. Very juicy, real sweet. Of course, the greens and the Romas, these are great for tomato sauce. And the golden boy tomatoes, and of course, these wonderful little bitty currant tomatoes right here. Just a multitude of different tomatoes for us to choose from whenever we create tomato dishes in Louisiana. So think of the Creole dishes, shrimp Creole, think of the great spaghetti sauces, all of those things originating in New Orleans. Wow, what a great assortment of tomatoes to choose from. So I want to cook a couple of nice dishes using tomatoes today. But first I have to tell you about a guy who's going to come to visit with me in the kitchen in just a couple of minutes, Sam Banandi. Sam has been in the French market of New Orleans ever since he's been 14 years old. That was about 1940 or so he went into the market. And he's going to come and talk to us about how the market has changed and how tomatoes have changed, farming in the city. So we want to talk to him as he comes in, and we're also going to cook a little bit with Sam once he gets into the kitchen here. Well, I'm going to start off today with one of the great dishes of New Orleans, a tomato bisque, a Creole tomato bisque. And when I mention Creoles, I'm talking about those tomatoes that originate in and around Plaquemine Parish and St. Bernard Parish down in South Louisiana. Although many people call Creole tomatoes tomatoes that grow all over Louisiana, the people in that area prize their tomatoes and market them as Creoles. So whenever you hear Creoles, that's basically where they're coming from. The first dish, this wonderful bisque, not only uses olive oil and all traditional Louisiana flavors, but the Italians always tell me that olive oil is too pronounced in a dish, so they want to cut it with a little bit butter so that it doesn't overpower the finished dish, especially in a bisque that's going to have a little bit cream going into it. Bisque is any soup that has pureed vegetables in it. Some people say pureed fruit as well. You notice I have my old black iron pot here. I love to cook in these cast iron pots because they really generate good heat. They heat well. I'm going to put in my trinity of flavors, my onions, my celery, my bell pepper, all of those great things. And again, as is true with most Louisiana dishes, whatever you want to put into the pot. I never tell people, eliminate this herb or eliminate that one. I want to make sure that all of those great flavors are going in, the flavors that you grew up with. That's what's important to me. Onions, celery, bell pepper. I can put some pretty colored peppers, too. This is the Creole flavors of New Orleans. Put a few of them in there. Garlic. My God, how could you make anything tomato without garlic? And I'm going to put a fair amount of garlic into the dish. Tomatoes are from the nightshade family, and of course that means the flowers are poisonous. And since they are truly an American crop, I mentioned North America, South America, they originated here, and until the discovery of America, no other culture used tomatoes. Of course, eventually they went back to Spain, they went back to Italy, and most people associate tomato cookery today with the Italians, but they did, in fact, originate right here in the Americas. Most people consider the fruit itself poisonous. So we didn't see a lot of tomato dishes even in our part of the country until the late 1800s when people got a little braver and started to eat those wonderful tomato dishes. Onion, celery, bell pepper, of course, garlic in here. Now I'm going to throw some carrots in. The carrots are going to give a little sweetness to the bisque, and once that's in, then, of course, I can add a little roux. I'm going to put a little flour in here and dust in just enough flour to pick up the oil to make, come on here, spoon, to put a nice little white roux into it. Normally, Cajun dishes originate with that dark brown roux, but this is Creole cooking, so I'm going to put in about 3 or 4 spoons of flour to pick up that oil, that olive oil. I wish you could smell this with all of that really nice olive oil flavor coming out of the pot. I want to put just enough flour to pick up that oil that's down in there. Otherwise, I'm going to have oil floating up to the top of my pot, and that's horrible looking. I certainly don't want to do that. So the roux now starts to pick up all of the great flavor of the onions, celery, bell pepper, and I encourage you to do the same technique when cooking white sauces or any type of cream soup. Saute your onions, celery, bell pepper, garlic first, and then add the flour in the cream. So now that that's in, I'm going to add a little beef stock. Beef stock is a little richer. It's going to give a little more of a hearty flavor to this wonderful tomato bisque. And of course, you can use chicken stock or fish stock if you don't want to use. You can even use a vegetable stock if you don't want to have any meat or seafood in the dish at all. Just enough stock to kind of pull that roux and vegetables together into a nice soup consistency. That's the main thing here. So just continue to add all of the stock in until you get the consistency that you like. So now that that's in there, I'm going to blend it around. Of course, you would want this to come to a nice simmer, bring it to a rolling boil, then go ahead and lower that heat just a little bit and let it simmer until all of those vegetables come together nicely in this pot. And once that happens, of course, you can add the 2 or 3 other main ingredients that's going to transform this soup into exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to put in the wonderful tomatoes. Take a look at these tomatoes. This is what we call concassé tomatoes. They've already been seeded. They've already been peeled. However, I have to tell you, I love to leave the seeds and the skins on the tomato because that's where a lot of the flavor is. And, of course, that's where a lot of the texture of the tomato comes from, too. They'll fall apart if you seed them and peel them. However, that's the way most people like to do it. So I'm showing you the soup with that particular look. But look how beautiful these tomatoes are as they go down into the pot. And then, of course, I'm going to add some tomato sauce for color because this needs a nice pink, a nice, really nice light rusty color. I don't like it bright red, just a nice rusty color. And that's what the bisque will look like as we let it come together in a pot. And then I can finish it, of course, with some nice cream. If you're on a low-fat diet, leave the cream out. Put some of that, oh, what is it, the pasteurized skim, evaporated skim milk. Put some of that evaporated skim milk in there. Put just enough cream to let that bisque come together and really look nice. Look how pretty that color is, just a nice light rosy color. And then I can season it with a little bit salt, a little bit pepper. I'm going to just put some of my favorite spices, a little salt, a little pepper. I can put a little Louisiana hot sauce, just kind of put some of that Louisiana pepper sauce in there and stir that around a little. And then, of course, my herbs, well, I have to finish it with some nice basil. And I want to put a chiffonade of basil, just kind of some nice long strands of fresh basil. And then, of course, thyme and a touch of sherry. And you could leave the sherry out. If you don't like liquor in your cooking, just leave the sherry out. But I'm going to put just a touch in. And I want to show you what this looks like once it's all done. Look how nice that looks. I want to show you a terrine that I have already cooked. I'm going to move this off of the fire. And then I want to show you a pot of this soup that's already cooked and show you how to garnish it as well. Because, boy, what a nice looking terrine this is. This is my solid snow white terrine. It's beautiful. And then as you take the lid off, you want to come back and put some fresh tomatoes right on top, like this. Then, of course, go ahead and put another chiffonade of basil right inside and bring it to the table, stir it around, and it's ready to serve. Isn't that a beautiful bisque? Just take a look at that fresh tomato bisque. Flavor it with some of your own herbs and spices, things that you like. You don't have to just follow that recipe right there. Okay, great. The next dish that I want to do for you is one of my favorite simple dishes. It's a tomato marinara. It's a marinara sauce. The marinara sauce is originated around Naples, and marinara basically is a very simplistic sauce. Normally olive oil, slivers of garlic, fresh tomato, cooked in about 5 or 6 minutes, and that's it. If you think I'm kidding, just ask some of your Italian friends from the old country. They're going to tell you that that's the way it was normally done by the fishermen who would actually do it on the boats and just create a really nice, quick little dish using fresh tomatoes and olive oil. I'm going to begin my marinara with, again, Creole tomatoes naturally, but I'm going to put a little touch of olive oil down in here, just about a 1/4 cup or so. And then I'm going to have to come in with my nice slivered garlic. And I'm actually slivering the garlic to give it more of a surface area so that as it starts to saute in this pot, just take a look as it hits this olive oil. You can imagine how great that flavor is going to be. It's going to really come together nicely in that pot. And it'll start to saute, and you don't want to over brown the edges of the garlic. You want to just get that nice toasty look to it, that nice little touch to the bottom of the garlic that starts to turn it golden. And once that's in, of course, you can add whatever flavors you like. This is a Creole marinara, so I wouldn't even think about doing it without adding a little onions, a little celery. But remember, in old days, it was only done with garlic and tomatoes. Onion, celery. I'm going to put a little touch of red bell pepper in here to keep that red look. And the garlic is just starting to turn that nice golden brown right around the edges. If you cook it too much, it'll get bitter. And once that's all in, I'm going to make it really Creole by adding some nice, fresh crawfish tails. Crawfish is in season most of the year here in Louisiana. And if you want a true marinara Creole style, go ahead and add in some of those wonderful crawfish tails. And wow, just take a look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, fresh Creole tomatoes again, right into the marinara sauce. This actually creates the sauce. And just let all of those beautiful flavors cook for just a second. The garlic will be picking up into that tomato very quickly. The crawfish will add the nice seafood flavor. And now I have to finish it again with a lot of this wonderful basil, because basil is the most important component to this fresh marinara. If you want it a little thicker or a little more red in color, add some tomato sauce. However, I think if you let it cook for just 6 or 7 minutes, you're going to find that you really have a nice, very, very nice tomato sauce. Look how pretty this all comes together. Again, in seasonings, well, whatever herbs and flavor you like, that's what I want to see you put into this pot. You don't have to use all the things I'm telling you to use. Just add some extra flavor, some oregano, some thyme, whatever you want. But the fishermen of Naples made it very simple. I'm going to add some juice. You can use V8 juice. You can use a vegetable cocktail juice. You can use fresh tomato juice. Any of them to help thin this out and just kind of give it a nice saucy complexion. Of course, you can use stock, too. Any type of chicken stock would work well, or beef stock. Season again, a little touch of salt, a little touch of pepper. And then a little bit, just a shake or two of this Louisiana pepper sauce down into it. And once it cooks, 5 to 6 minutes, that's it. You would serve it over a nice big bowl. And you have to look at this bowl of pasta. This bowl has saffron and squid's ink pasta in it. So you have 2 different colored pastas. And I'm going to go right on top of that with the sauce. Take a look at this. Is this gorgeous or what? As it goes over that pasta, and it's in a Chinese bowl, because pasta actually originated all the way down across the country into what is now present-day China. A little basil on top of that. Of course, I could put some cheeses, a little Romano, a little Parmesan right on top. Is that not just beautiful? That's what a tomato sauce is supposed to look like. So I'll just move this out of the way. Now I want to show you 2 other really nice dishes that I've created using tomatoes today. Here is just a simple tomato salad using the yellow, green, and red tomatoes, of course some of the cherries and pears, and flavored again just with a little balsamic vinegar and olive oil. Right next to it, I have some deep-fried green tomatoes, and these are very famous in New Orleans, especially around the summertime. We eat it as finger food, so it's a simple, simple dish. Well, that's just a couple of the great dishes associated with not only New Orleans, but with Creole tomatoes as well. Now, I told you my good friend Sam Banandi was coming into the kitchen to visit with me. He's been in the French market for over 40 years, and he promised to come and spend the day with me. How you doing, Sam?
There's a good box of tomatoes.
Oh, I have tomatoes everywhere out here today, but I tell you, these are the best. These are Creoles.
Creole, right.
What's the season, basically, we
from
get
March
these?
to about May. Say May to November.
All the way May to November. So, you know,
Right.
well, I tell you what, I'm going to treasure these, because these are some of the best. And thanks a lot for bringing them in. Of course, when I run out, I know where to come back
There
and
you
get them
go.
again.
There you go.
How's everything in the market? Pretty good?
Yeah. Pretty good.
You know, I was talking to your wife, Ann, the other day, and I was telling her, I said, I'm going to get Sam into the kitchen and out of that market to come and cook with me. She said, it'll never happen. Well, hey, here you are. You know, we were talking about that great dish, that simple fresh tomato dish, Panzanella. And Panzanella, where I come from, is just a mixture of different colored tomatoes or simple red tomatoes with basic flavorings. But she was telling me at that time that y'all do it a little bit differently.
Correct.
How do you make it?
Well, she puts it with tomatoes and basil and garlic, and she just chops it up, and then we put it on put it over the steaks and the barbecue.
So it's more like a barbecue sauce. And
Correct.
Well, I tell you, come on over here, and we're gonna make my version of Panzanella. And I tell you, you said you never cooked a thing in your life. Sam, pick up that spoon right there. We're gonna show.
Now you're gonna ruin me.
I'm gonna ruin your reputation.
You better.
Look at these beautiful tomatoes here. I have all the different colors. You can go ahead and stir those up. And I'm going to go ahead and add some pretty nice, fresh, green, great olive oil. This is wonderful stuff. And then I'm going to come into it with some red wine vinegar. You could put balsamic vinegar in here, extra virgin olive oil. That's really the way you want to do it. Of course, fresh garlic. You want to put garlic in here.
That's the Italian boys.
Not only Italian boys, Cajun boys eat it too. I love garlic.
Yeah,
a Romano and a little little cheese. Of course, basil, thyme, oregano, all those great flavors. And then you want to mix all of those in, just blend them in there. There you go. You're doing a pretty good job of that.
I got to. She's watching.
Okay, now once all of those flavors are set, what I would do is put it in the refrigerator overnight. Of course, a lot of the Italians say you have to eat it fresh. I'm putting it on a little crouton of basil leaf. Just go ahead and, now this would be served as a cold hors d'oeuvre, or it would be served just as a salad. You could throw it onto a salad plate. Sit down right here, Sam. We're going to chat a little bit about the market. Now, you know, I don't want to stereotype anybody, but we've talked about the Italians really being the influence in the market in fresh produce in Louisiana for a long, long time. Why are Italians so associated with gardening?
They like to eat. That's one of the reasons. But they just good, you know, they're pretty good farmers.
Right.
The Italians are pretty good farmers, and they just inherited from their family to the family.
Right. Well, you know, when I think of when I think of the Cajuns, we had big families. We were farmers and fishermen as well, and I guess the Italians are pretty much the same way.
Yeah, big family. We were like eight in the family.
Well, where did your mother and father come from in Italy, and where did they settle in Louisiana?
Palermo and Sicily, and they settled in Plaquemine Parish.
And that was really good farmland.
Oh, yeah, it's very excellent farmland.
You know, also when I think of the market back in the 1800s, when they first started to work there, probably at the turn of the century, Plaquemine Parish is about 25 miles away from downtown New Orleans. That must have been an unbelievable trip every morning to that market. Huh?
There's no doubt about it, because my sister tells me about it, because she was very old, you know. She said she rode with my father to the French market many a times. Took quite a while.
Right.
And that's a long ordeal to drive from there to there.
And then have to work all
with mules.
Yeah.
You know, and work after working hard, that's right.
Think about the market back in his time and versus your time. You've been in the market since the 40s. Yeah. How do you think it's changed over the years?
Oh, it changed dramatically. It's just not what it was, but back when I first started, there was numerous of farmers. Numerous. Very, very many farmers. Today, there's just X many farmers. You know, you can count them on your hands.
Right.
Probably.
Did that market always, like, I know today it's mainly a produce market. You walk in, there's the tomatoes, the fresh vegetables, and all of that. When I travel around the world and go to markets like the French market in New Orleans, there's meat and there's chickens, there's fish and all of that. Was there ever a time when they had all of that?
Maybe, but not in my time. The only thing they had was fish, you know. It was shrimp with a fish market and vegetables. That was it, total.
Well, you know, with the freshness of vegetables, especially the chefs in my own restaurant, I'm always seeking good, high-quality products. I'm looking for things that are so much better than I can buy from a supplier or from a grocery store. It seems that the market would be thriving just with the chefs in New Orleans coming in there to buy food.
Well, yeah, but they don't have a place for parking anymore.
Yeah.
That's why farmers don't come in. As a matter of fact, farmers is just getting to be extinct now.
Right.
Getting out.
Is there any young people that's
not
still?
Too many. Not too many. I got 2 young son-in-laws that's running my business, you know.
Right.
And of course I work with them too. But I don't know. We just go from month to month or year to year, whatever.
Do you think the market's going to survive in New Orleans, or you think it's on the downswing?
It's on a downswing.
Well,
It's not on the upswing. That's
well,
for sure.
you know, I really hope that between the chefs and between everybody else, we can come together and hold it together. I got to talk to the politicians a little bit. We don't
Yeah,
want to
you
lose
need to
that.
do that.
Sam, thanks so much for coming to spend a day with me in the kitchen, okay?
Get some new politicians.
And thank all of you for stopping by, and come back as we continue to cook up the foods of the fairs and festivals and more great Taste of Louisiana.
Funding for this program is provided by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Vieux Carré, Zydeco, Atchafalaya, Natchitoches. In Louisiana, you'll say things you've never seen before.
More information on events in Louisiana can be yours at no cost. Call 1-800-36-GUMBO for your free Louisiana tour guide listing festivals, attractions, and points of interest throughout the Bayou State. Chef John Folse's Louisiana Sampler, a companion cookbook to this series, contains the colorful history and culinary secrets behind Louisiana's most exciting festivals. For your copy, send a check or money order for $19.95 to Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Or use your credit card by calling toll-free 1-800-973-7246.